Hi everyone and welcome to the All Things ITSM Global Podcast. We're coming to you from FUSION15 in New Orleans. I'm Kirsty McGowan, I'm here with Carlos Casanova.
Hello, Kirsty.
Greg Sanker, and it's a pleasure to be chatting to Rob Stroud again.
So, it's good to be here.
Yeah, nice to have you back, Rob.
Thank you.
So Rob, we've spoken to you on a few occasions over the years, but I get a feeling something's changed, you know? I mean, you're always out there speaking on behalf of ISACA, but there's this other role that is a little different now. You've moved a little bit.
Yeah, I've moved a little bit. In fact, I've moved into the world of the analyst. So I've joined Forrester as a principal analyst in the infrastructure and operations area. And it's really an interesting area to be in right now because in the age of the customer, as we call it, and we've seen that in ITSM as well with the transition. Fundamentally, I'm going to be focused on the change of the way we're using infrastructure, the way we're using workload, and there's terms like composable architecture or composable infrastructure, software-defined data center, other terms like immutable infrastructure, all these terms where we're actually now starting to treat the infrastructure component as an element that we actually can build and deliver like you would software-defined networking or software-defined data, and it's interesting. There's a lot of opportunities there for us to do things better.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I would think that obviously with your with your background and your exposure around the world, there's a lot of insight that you can bring to that space.
It's really interesting. So one of the things that businesses are challenged with right now, and we see this in service management, we've heard it at Fusion in the last couple of days, right, already, is that velocity is a problem. Right? And we've got a DevOps sessions going on here, and we're talking about velocity. And one of the things that hurts us is, remember the old Microsoft Patch Tuesday?
Yes.
Or the changes to keep hardware up to spec and software on hardware. One of the changes that's now starting to happen in the industry is with workloads that are hybrid, can be on-premise or in the cloud or a combination thereof. We're seeing a change in the way we run infrastructure, and we're running it as a service, as I mentioned. But the reality is we're actually starting to see a new way of doing changes where we actually take, in a DevOps methodology, you actually take the infrastructure image back through production and you run it right through the development lifecycle, the testing, the QA, pre-prod, and go to production. And what happens is you change that image, you take it all the way through, so you've got good assurance that that's going to work because it's worked in test. Right. It's a big change, and actually it's a big change that we're going to have to do for service management because traditional change management doesn't really allow for that.
No.
And we've touched on that earlier, where it's deployment ticketing.
Yep.
And we kind of ignore that full cycle of change. So, but I would think that's pretty, or I would assume that folks would look at that as really burdensome if they're going to go back through the whole cycle. So how do you get past that?
Automation. It's a key word, and we've seen tools in the market already. We know them quite well. Like Chef, Puppet, Ansible, because we're in the DevOps theme, right? And they have been leveraged to automate and use the use case of a Facebook or a Netflix or even an Amazon.com, right, where they're doing hundreds and hundreds of changes a day or thousands even, right? And I think one of the things we've done in the past is we haven't mapped the change right back through development. No. So if you imagine the new world of doing things is we're going to have the ideation, we're going to decide what's getting changed, a team will work on it, whether it's waterfall or agile, we'll run it right through the life cycle and we'll automate it from step to step. Right. So it'll populate in production. In fact, already you're starting to see solution sets where you can bring a change into production automatically and it won't kill the application. And it can, there's a lot of terms that are like containerization around now, where you're doing that. And these are all changes that are happening, but it changes the culture of service management. Yes. And it really changes it in a way that I'm not sure we're ready for yet.
We're still trying to figure out how to spell RFC.
Yeah.
That's request for cookies.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, is it? I guess we've seen things over the years. Is it too early? And it is what it is. It comes about. Is it one of those things where potentially the ideas there, the thought leaders are, yep, absolutely, but yet the industry and the market space isn't ready for it?
So I probably would have answered you're right 6 months ago, but we actually have a large number of tool sets that are in quite wide use now.
Okay.
And the fact that we've even got a DevOps event within ITSM
Right.
Fusion right now.
It's encouraging.
It shows, because what we're starting to see is this automation get done. And some people used to argue in the past, we've got a process and nothing but the process. But the reality is, if you can automate and instrument that process and do things like, if the testing fails, you actually stop the process and go back through the feedback loop.
Right. And that's that mathematical model of predicting the quality of what's coming out the end. You know that that's what's going to come out.
Quality is a key part, and this is one of the things people talk about, velocity.
Yes.
But if I own, and I go back to my original days in banking, and when we owned the change right through, and I'm the one who got paged at 3 a.m. when it failed. So therefore, I'm trying.
You've got to make sure it works.
Make sure it works.
I don't want to be paged at 3 a.m. in the morning. The pager in the refrigerator doesn't help when they send a car around to wake me up.
Yeah, the batteries died. Remember?
Yeah.
The batteries were dead. Yeah, that's it.
Pager in the freezer works.
It does.
Speaking from experience, I guess.
I won't say.
How's the smartphone in the freezer? Does that work too?
That works very well. Keeps the battery life.
Yes, it's just for the battery life.
Just with battery.
Yeah.
But those were the days of bricks. Remember those big old...
The great big things,
With
Big
the
bag
extended
phone.
life battery, I had that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I had the big bag phone.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
You were cool.
Yeah, you're one of the cool guys.
So I think there's an interesting piece on is the industry ready for it? I do think there's a big gap there.
Oh,
But-
absolutely.
But, the
There
reality,
is.
and from my perspective, is DevOps is moving forward. Service management needs to catch up with
Yeah,
that.
if we don't go along for the ride, we're going to become irrelevant.
Yeah. But-
So one of the themes I talk about now when I'm talking about DevOps is the fact that it's more dev than it is ops.
That is true.
And we're very, very good. I mean, without the use, we all use the use cases of Amazon and Facebook and Google and all those places. But the reality of it is that you start looking at, I was in the UK last week, and there's a company there, an organisation in the power industry, and it's a startup, and it's disrupting the market. And they're leveraging DevOps, right? And they're using the cloud, and they're delivering their software. So what now happens is they've got a term that you may or may not have spoke about today, microservices. And they've actually defined every service as a microservice, and a team owns it, beginning to end, including the ideation of the backlog. Everything is interfacing with web services, and you just plug the microservice in, you upgrade it, and everything automatically communicates.
And you can test the model because you know how the pieces fit.
Absolutely. In fact, in your regression testing, you've got the platform so you can pop it in.
Right.
I mean, I spent several years on the object-oriented space, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because I was just thinking the other day, there's some things that are going on with a client of mine, that they're trying to break it into these pieces, but yet the interface between the pieces is not clearly defined. So when they're changing out certain pieces and the functionality and change, I mean, in objects, it doesn't matter what happens inside, as long as the interface stays the same and what's going to happen there, that's fine. But that's what it sounds like you're almost talking about is in that concept. It's like, okay, you own it, and as long as the in and the out is there, you can do whatever you can to make it more efficient or more productive. So is that kind of where they're going?
So a key piece of this, and we've seen this with the Amazon.com website, and the way they've rewritten that is you treat everything as a microservice. So a very bad example is the Pay Now button. It's a microservice.
Right.
A team owns it, and they own the backlog for it. And then the tax calculation, a team owns that. And what they go and do is every interface is exposed through an API. Therefore, within the Pay Now button, you can do whatever you want. And you can change it and upgrade it and facilitate it, and the API acknowledges that it's available. And then at that point in time, you can call it and use it. And that this all works very well, because you can actually then, look, Pay Now button, right? Oh, the Pay Now button changed, we've got to run this testing suite.
Right.
It all works very well.
So one thing that some people watching this are going to say is, well, that's all great for the big players, but what about me? I'm a 50-person shop. I have a small software development effort. What does that mean to me? Am I just left in the dust?
Absolutely not. In fact, what we've seen is that the small shop, and I'm glad you brought it up, can actually move faster. So for instance, you look at some of the cloud services that are available now, a lot of those tools and components that we used to have to build are now available. So you can actually go and get a toolkit that effectively will build all of those microservices for you, work with you to develop them. Then you can populate them to the cloud and then automatically move them through the various stages. So actually it's allowing small players to actually really start to impact the market. And we're starting to see that now. You can go fast. In fact, I would argue that if you've got a lot of legacy code, you're at a disadvantage now.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know we gotta wrap up, but it almost first thing I thought of was, is this going to create a whole new marketplace for small vendors to create, for lack of a better term, new controls that have the interfaces and stuff to allow the velocity, and now it's the pay button widget. Sold by Joe's.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's the small vendor is just buying it and using it, licensing or whatever, and they don't even have to maintain it anymore.
So you have a multi-vendor components that are building.
and you're
your
just
product.
piecing it all together. You're back to integration.
So, and this is the utopian situation
Sure.
that
Yeah.
we're going to see. And we're starting to see that with exchanges now. So if you go to GitHub, for instance, right, you want to get code off or a piece of software, you can go there and get something now.
Right.
And we're going to start to see that exchange. And I think that one is a little bit further out,
So
right?
then you're really allowing proper specialisation in small areas, so you're getting the best of everything to make the whole.
And you bring it together quickly, right?
Yeah.
And, it's like, one example I use is the power company. And why would they build a billing engine? They'll go buy one.
Buy the best one that's out there.
They're
Yeah.
all,
Or the cheapest one.
That's their choice. But
The one that best fits their
Yeah,
business needs.
that's the
Thank
one.
you.
Yeah.
The one that gets them highest margins.
Yeah.
Sorry, we've just totally
Rob.
You've totally thrown me there, but no, the reality is you do that though.
Yeah.
What you do is if you expose that billing engine through a series of REST APIs or something like that, then you can add the value add on top.
Yes.
Right.
And your team are focused on that,
Focus
not
on your
building the
value
billing
add,
engine.
not the
And
infrastructure.
that's the key
Yeah,
part.
not the underlying
Yeah.
Cool.
part of it. Great.
Well, thanks for finally
Yeah.
telling us what you're doing.
Yeah.
That'll be different
Yeah,
next
I mean,
week.
the rumours flying around the industry for so long, so it's good to have you here.
It's good to be here.
Thank you, Rob.